Wow, Charles. 11 minutes worth of disruption right there.
It's worth every minute to be in this choice location on 6th Avenue near 30th Street. Got nice grates to live on, next to close proximity to retail and empty stores and other variety of people who are struggling to exist in the city that's falling down before our very eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly distressing.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of good news in that today is our first show back with the Jason Goodman YouTube channel. So hopefully
that's great.
A lot of people will be seeing us today.
Yeah.
Just checking if we're live here, because there was some complications in getting it. Okay, it looks like we are. That's very good.
Good. We can stop off and get eyelash extensions if you want. Some Dunkin' Donuts.
I'm pretty happy with the length of my eyelashes. I don't know that I need to extend them at all.
And here we see the graffiti to our right.
It's terrible.
Storefront after storefront, window after window. Clearly these stores have just... I remember actually this was some kind of bric-a-brac store of beads and stuff like that. This is clearly out. See, store for rent. Look at the graffiti. And one of the things that I've noticed in looking around the city is you're increasingly seeing the graffiti at second story level and third story level. So how are these people climbing up on the buildings? How come the cops aren't noticing that?
Well, they're too busy texting or looking at Twitter on their phone or whatever they're doing.
Right. And this across the way is a collection of very old buildings that eventually will come down. But if you ever need to get an egg, you can get an egg there. A wig, obviously.
Or piercings as well. Now, Charles, there was a kind of an unusual story that caused me to think of you, in that it had to do with financial stuff.
Right.
We were hearing about GameStop. I thought it was interesting because we just walked by GameStop the other day.
Right.
And they had closed, and it occurred to me that they are probably not long for this earth.
Right.
I feel like a bit of a buzz on my...
Remember, we're getting close to that.
For some reason.
We're getting close to that spot where we get attacked.
I think it's something else. I gotta...
All right.
I don't know. My mic seems overmodulating, maybe at the transmitter, but I'm not going to deal with it right now. So, but this whole thing is going on with GameStop that I don't fully understand.
All
But
right.
something is happening on Reddit where I think they're trying to counteract the news. It's not necessarily a crowd-funded stock buying effort.
Well, so basically what it is, when you get into the business of short selling, which I've never been a short seller, but I worked with some of them, some of the best ones in the business. What they'll tell you is the rules are rigged against short sellers, right? Most human beings are investors, are optimistic. You don't buy stock because you hope it's going to get destroyed. You hear it's like the first time you decide to date somebody. You're not focusing on all the negatives. You like this, you like that. So there's a natural inclination in the market for people to be optimistic and for management to sell an optimistic story. And there are also a variety of rules we don't need to get into that do make it difficult for the short sellers to drive a stock into the dirt. So when I got into this with GE, when I saw clearly that GE was, and I believe it remains, overvalued, significantly overvalued, what all these pros would say is they'd say, well, that's very interesting, but what is the catalyst? What is this catalyst or catalysts that are going to cause the market to change its way of thinking about a stock? So in order to sell a stock short, what you have to do is you have to borrow the stock you want to sell from somebody if you don't own it already.
Right.
So when you borrow, you pay an interest rate on that. And if a lot of people are trying to short the stock, then the interest rate goes up. And so when you get into it, of course, the CEO at the company, when you're shorting it, is not going to be happy. I mean, the GE people are not calling me every second to say, whoa, we love your analysis, which says that we're a complete bunch of fraudsters. So it's natural for the Elon Musks and people and the Overstock guy and the people
Right,
who have been
Patrick Byrne.
victims of short sellers to try to crush the shorts.
Can it ruin your company?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the stock value goes down?
Well, it depends whether it's deserved or not. So if you make allegations of accounting fraud that are significant and rise to the level of potentially criminal behavior,
I know somebody who's done that.
then then absolutely a stock can be very much destroyed. Careers can end.
Criminal stuff.
Rent's too high. Yeah, he just put that up there,
Yeah.
and you see he's got on his back of his jacket "Equal Justice." He's doing it again.
Oh yeah.
Let's go, Pat. I don't want to get an altercation
Right,
with this
right.
dude. Go back to fucking Moscow. But anyway, or Karl Marx land. But anyway, so in the case of GameStop on substance, you think, based on what you know, and I think based on what I know, that it's probably a way overvalued company.
Oh, certainly now, for sure.
Right. And the challenge becomes, however, that when the Reddit army, which is said to be 2.2 million people who have
Wall Street bets.
Right, who have a point of view on a stock, when they act in concert, if they act in concert to try to drive the value of a stock price up, I'm no lawyer, but I got to believe that that's potentially criminal activity, a criminal conspiracy.
Isn't it the same though, Charles? The way I looked into it further after our initial conversation, and what they're saying is just like you and I do a show to counteract the mainstream news about what's being said about the topics we discuss, that's what these guys are doing.
No, they're buying shares. And so we're not buying shares to act on. We have an opinion, and we're not trying to profit or cause stocks to go down based on our opinion.
Right.
Right, they are. And that you can't do. You can't have a whole bunch of people using, if they're using electronic means or telephones or whatever, a large number of people inciting coordinated purchasing of a stock to drive its value way up, in theory to crush the people who on substance are saying the thing should be bankrupt. So I think on the one hand,
That's Stratton Oakmont stuff, right?
exactly, it's standard pump and dump stuff. I mean, a variant of pump and dump, where you get together and you get everybody to buy a whole bunch of stock, and then you short it and make much more money on the way down than everybody else made on the way up. So,
well, this one's still. Oh, is it open? It was the one. Maybe it was the one on 6th Avenue. There's a sign there. Maybe it is.
this
closed.
is the one that we saw, or one of the ones we saw.
Yeah, no, it's the one on 6th Ave.
We're
down
on
like 20. So I guess this is still open. I mean, my feeling about GameStop is that all of these major, PlayStation and Xbox, they're coming out with their own, App Store type stores, and all these games are digital. So the delivery of them at a physical store seems pretty outmoded.
Yeah, I would agree.
So it seems like the store's days are numbered.
In general, I mean, when you think retail, days are numbered.
Right.
This type of stuff with a digital delivery alternative, numbered.
Right.
Overvalued, numbered. So I think we don't know the full story yet on what's going on with GameStop, and I think there's another one, AMC Theaters, and others where a large number of shares have been sold short, and in some cases more shares have been sold short than the company has outstanding, which technically shouldn't be allowed.
So what the hell is going on there?
Right, the regulators, as usual, watching porn at the SEC. Too busy doing that.
Well, it's Peter Strzok's wife, so Mrs. Strzok watching porn.
Now up here is where we get hit. So
Well,
do you want to try?
go?
Yeah, let's try if we can go this way. Maybe we don't get hit as badly.
Now, you were telling me, Charles, about a DHS warning that was pretty shocking.
Right. Eyes ahead here. Yeah, just several hours before we began this broadcast, maybe 90 minutes ago or thereabouts, AP and a lot of other wire sources reported that the Department of Homeland Security has issued a general terror alert described as to be on the lookout for people who are dissatisfied with the election results and people who are engaged in the spreading of false narratives. Now, I mean, if that isn't, you talk about Congress now, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, I mean, mainstream media. I mean, if that isn't Orwellian, I don't know what is. And to suggest that that's something that the DHS should focus on. Remember, the DHS was set up primarily to protect us from foreign enemies. We have an FBI that is supposed to be investigating criminal activity in the United States, in theory, when they're not setting up people.
When do they have the time?
They're also too busy screwing each other and watching porn, as at least at the highest levels, judging from the Page, Strzok, McCabe, etc. evidence that we have before us. So this issuance of such an order sets the stage for perhaps a staged event between now and through the impeachment trial, if there is going to be a trial, that then could be used as a prelude by the Biden administration and those who want to see this happen, start taking away our civil rights. Second Amendment, dramatically curtailing Second Amendment rights. I mean, Biden's already proposed, or his people, what?
Well, this is new, that the entrance to the Empire State Building Observatory is over here. It used to be
around the corner
on Fifth Ave.
Yeah.
So but also there's nobody here. That's weird.
Are you sure? I see tons of people.
There's a huge
line. There's something wrong with your glasses, Jason? I mean,
maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But there's nobody really waiting to go in.
Yeah.
Weird. Sorry. So yeah, they're going to stage an event to be able to take away more.
One imagines that could happen. What?
Well, they have King Kong on a TV outside the window and the fingers sticking in. That seems new.
Yeah, I think that is new.
But, to continue taking away our civil rights.
Right. So I don't like seeing this on top of seeing all the troops still in Washington, D.C. I do not see the need for that many troops. Now, granted, maybe there are particularized threats that we're not aware of. There are a lot of crazy people around the world, and certainly in this country, and definitely in Congress, both parties. So, maybe there's something to worry about, but having 25,000, 30,000 troops in Washington, D.C. seems a bit extreme.
It's an invasion.
Seems extreme. So, before we get too much further, I think we should congratulate the art department again.
Oh, yes.
On a job very well done.
Operation Dumb Joe Drop. I didn't really, I don't think I ever saw the movie about the elephant.
Oh, Jason, you told me you used to watch it once a week.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
Oh, sure, okay.
But
that's what you want to say. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to figure out how they got Dumb Joe in there, and now it's just amazing, Charles, how strenuously they are resisting any, I mean, it's like when somebody says, Jason Goodman didn't invent 3D cameras. It's like, well, we could talk about that all day because the truth, you're never going to penetrate, and let's talk about it. Here, it seems to me that if there's two guys running for president, it's not the same as any other kind of thing that two people engage in, to the extent that if it's a breach of contract or whatever, these are sort of general disagreements that there's lots of laws and civil procedures to deal with. But in a presidential election, it really should be that if one of the people even raises the concern, it should automatically trigger some kind of official audit.
Exactly.
Not a stamp down on anybody asking any questions about it, or you're not even allowed to be dissatisfied. That's terrorism.
Right. And if you follow the Constitution and question the actual Electoral College results, whether they were properly supplied by the state legislatures, then you're Josh Hawley and you're Ted Cruz, and you need to be kicked out of the Senate.
Over.
But just what I want to tell you about is, I don't know if you had a chance to watch what purported to be Joe Biden. It looked to me like a mannequin.
Oh, yeah.
And when the clip was sent to me yesterday, it had, I think, a very light number of views. I mean, I think it had like 19,000 views or something like that. And something like, I'll be generous and say it had 800 upvotes. I don't think it was that high, but it had something like 3,200 downvotes on 19,000 views. And honestly, that's the kind of thing where, without picking on the naming of the person or whatever, I'm aware of somebody who, when you got 400 points for the SATs for signing your name and not answering a single question, managed to get 530 combined on the test.
That's when you,
huh?
Was it Dumb Joe?
Well, I think that person was ahead of Dumb Joe in both undergraduate and law school classes. But that's a performance which, for a normal podcaster with no national, international presence, you would say, maybe I should do something else. Like, maybe I should think about, careful, Pfizer. Maybe I should think about, I don't know, ice skating, something different.
Right, well, like John Sullivan. And then look at this, HBO already having movies about lockdown romance. Anne Hathaway.
Oh boy, I could never do anything right? What's this say here? Look.
This man was seen by a group of witnesses slightly changing his appearance to an alien-looking thing, which were the words used to describe
him. He's trying to promote himself.
He's also been seen doing magic.
He's trying to promote himself.
And he's into NASA.
Right.
I saw a thing in the Post yesterday about a guy who cut off his nose and tattooed himself to make himself look like
and spited his face. He cut off his nose.
It's a great idea.
Right. Brilliant.
A doctor did that for him.
Was it Al Gore?
No, it didn't look like Al Gore.
It was Hillary Clinton?
Some French guy.
Okay. Figures. Sorry, Fabian. But
so Joe had that crappy podcast.
And he gets. I didn't watch much of it. I just saw that the view count, and I said, "This is pathetic." Then somebody else, Raheem Kassim, the guy at War Room Pandemic, he tweets out with one word: pathetic. The clip of this thing, and it's Joe. I don't understand how to light or shoot cameras or whatever, but I'm not the President of the United States. Here's Joe, and looking as if he's at he's in the back of a wind tunnel. He's sort of like backing up. His hair is all, poofed
like
up and white.
Cell commercial where the guy's in the chair.
Right, and he's coming out. He's been criticizing, the Biden administration has been criticizing the Trump administration for the slow rollout. And so he gets vaccine, and he says, let's stop for a second so I can just, he says, more or less this way: I'm here to announce that we're going to have 200 million more doses of vaccine on top of the 400 million we already ordered, which represents a 50% increase, and that will be enough, 600 million doses, to vaccinate 300 Americans. That's right, 300 Americans. I thought it was like Saturday Night Live. I mean, it was ridiculous.
So
and then I don't know if it was that press conference or not, I think he sat down and he was signing things, and
he's like taking out pens, putting them in his pocket.
And he can't figure out how to put it in his...
A box of 700 pens. Why does he need... He's like putting away a pen to then take out another pen. I didn't get that.
Well, I think with some of these signing ceremonies, what you do is you sign one, and then you give a souvenir copy to people who are involved with the effort to get the executive order across. You give them a pen. But, I mean, if... I guess we've confirmed the Defense Department, and I think we've confirmed the new NSA person.
Oh, and also the Secretary of State. Abe Lincoln is now the Secretary of State.
But if I'm sitting there as a rival or an enemy of the United States, and I see this performance, and I realize the way it works in the U.S. is that if we get cheesed off at a country and we want to nuke them, this is the guy who makes the final decision? I mean...
It's terrible.
It's ridiculous.
We're at an absolute low point, Charles.
It's ridiculous. It's pathetic, frankly. And it's pathetic that so many people would really conspire to engage in elder abuse, because that's what this is. This man cannot complete a sentence without guidance. And so far, every single decision he's made has been horrific from an economic standpoint, geopolitical standpoint. I mean, you're in the middle, in theory, of a pandemic, and you've got people who have been, I'll get back to why I say in theory, you've got people staying at home, on unemployment, out of work, not sure how they're going to pay off student loans, etc. And so just when companies are saying, we're going to replace more humans with machines, that's when you try to mandate a $15 per hour minimum wage, which is going to crush.
Right, small business.
Well, it's going to crush young workers, entry-level workers, because companies are going to say, F that. These entry-level workers.
Jobs.
Well, the entry-level workers typically don't stay in that job very long. Now you've doubled the cost, or almost doubled the cost of an entry-level worker. I'll come up with a workaround. I'll work around the entry-level workers.
Well, or hire one person for less money, for more money, one person for more money, rather than multiple part-time jobs or whatever it might be. I was thinking, Charles, maybe what they're planning to do, they could install one of those Elon Musk plugged-in pig brains into Joe.
Even Biden. that wouldn't be an upgrade.
You don't think a digital pig brain would help him?
No, I don't think 20 would. And so
you get bacon.
Yeah, but actually, why I said in theory on the pandemic, Biljana, our friend from Sweden, just sent me a direct message where I think Sweden was never on lockdown, right?
I'm pretty sure that's right, and they were getting herd immunity, and people were pissed about that.
And the cases are declining.
Right.
So never on lockdown. So, it's really, the mainstream press can try to pretend, as they did on January 20th, that as some of the Rachel Maddow was crying and others were, this is such a fantastic return to normalcy, and see the good governance in action instead of the chaos and the Trump. I mean, I stopped watching television after you, but I stopped watching television it's shortly after the election. I mean, the purported election results and the purported election analysis.
No, we can't be dissatisfied. You're going to like it.
Good luck with that. Good luck. That is not.
Here's HSBC, Charles.
Indeed.
Do you have any laundry to do?
No, but I do need to pay off some politicians. You want me to go in there and I'll just get that done? And
James Comey, is he still on the board or?
He was never. I don't think. Was he on the board of HSBC?
Wasn't he?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe you're right. Or was he a special master? I forget what he was, but.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And here we still have the lions of the
with the face masks
of the library with the face mask, and Pfizer is just advertising like crazy.
Well, they're all as you know, they're based right near her, so it makes sense that they would.
But it's not really something that needs to advertise. I mean, you're not sitting around thinking, boy, I really could use a statin, but I'm not sure what brand.
I'll have a statin and tonic. Hold the rocks.
Right. It's weird that they're advertising. It's like when at the Super Bowl you have like Lockheed Martin advertising. I don't think the people who are tailgating at the game are interested in buying an F-35. It's just a way for Lockheed Martin to get millions of dollars to the mainstream news.
Probably.
Mainstream people.
Probably.
So here we go, Charles. Lion, masked up.
Black Lives Matter. Of course. Uyghur lives matter too. I should mention that I was taping this morning an interview with our good friends in Norway, and it was about a year ago that we were in Norway. We got back from Norway, and I made the point that, I mean, I don't suppose it would surprise many people that I believe that progressives are incredibly hypocritical if they're going to simultaneously animate the Black Lives Matter movement and say that everything that's been produced in the United States of America and other countries where slavery was prevalent was produced on the backs of slaves. I mean, and there's certainly good cause to go back over that ground and see what can be done to redress the inequities that did occur going way back when. But that needs to be done in the context of the time, knowing the history, knowing how the slaves were treated. I mean, it's not like the United States of America was the only place where there was slavery. In fact, slavery was prevalent and remains prevalent in many countries in Africa today.
Well, and also the Middle East.
And in the Middle East. Well, and particularly in China, where we have people who are the Muslim minority Uyghurs. It's not spelled the way I'm pronouncing it, but it's pronounced, I believe,
Uyghurs or something like that.
Uighurs.
They're really pushing this King Kong room, Charles.
Right. And so here we have the progressives saying, we need to follow the lead of Chairman Xi, who is quite happy to literally enslave minority groups, Muslim minority groups, and also to create to encourage labor conditions where people are jumping out of windows, to make stuff, to make products cheaper for Apple. And at the same time, these people want to be taken seriously as saying they're arguing on behalf of the downtrodden here in this country. And I mean, it's just, I wish I had a debate show.
You do have a show.
No, a debate show.
We're on it.
No. Just hear me out with a set where we could invite these idiots on and we could debate them. And when I decided or you decided that they've gone far enough, we'd pie them. It'd be hilarious.
No one would agree to come on that show.
Well, maybe we'd find a sponsor who would pay the sacrificial lamb $10,000 a show or something to be pied on air or whatever, but to give or pay the dry cleaning bill anyway.
Well, and it goes beyond even the example that you're giving, because, in the case of Apple and Tim Cook and Google is manufacturing products in these same types of conditions, they also want to have the moral authority to tell you that, Alex Jones is so bad and evil that he can't broadcast on their network, and Parler is so bad and evil that they can't broadcast on their network. But if you want to plan your riot on Twitter or Facebook, you go right ahead and do that.
Right. We'll give you a donation through Act Blue.
We'll bail you out of jail, whatever.
And we'll encourage that while we're running for vice president as Kamala Harris. I mean, So, going back to what I know, I don't know a tremendous amount, but I know a bit about Thomas Jefferson and
there's more Pfizer ads.
And the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom, which was the precursor to the Declaration, or elements of it, were then found in the Declaration of Independence and found their way into the Bill of Rights. But Jefferson's own words in the book that he wrote, which was in 1782, I believe, while he was ambassador, the equivalent of ambassador to France, the French asked him to fill out a questionnaire about what America was like, and they got specifically into this question of why is freedom of expression important, and his answer was really good, and he explained that people should be free to express any opinion, even a stupid opinion, even a hateful opinion. There should be a marketplace of ideas where we hear the idea, and if it's really spiteful and hateful and deceitful, whatever, or even criminal, then you counterattack it, and you have the public understand what the person was arguing and why the counter argument is better and telling. And if it's, as I say, inciting riots and criminal mischief, those people doing that end up in prison.
Well, but that's where the problem lies, because they're saying that that's what the president did.
Well, no. Let's back up on all that. I mean, I think you and I were there, and you went back alone for the inauguration. But while I was there with you, what I witnessed and what we witnessed is on tape. So people can look at it for themselves. Were a lot of people from all over the country who genuinely were pro-Trump and pro-anti-globalist and pro-Constitution.
Yeah, freedom.
And these were basically jovial people, merry people.
Right. It was actually a really nice day.
Interspersed with a number of people that we noticed in either black bloc or camouflage outfits. Typically, sometimes the mayor is in such a convoy in that big Mercedes, big blue van. That's the kind of thing that we saw Hillary Clinton in.
Right.
Or fall out of. Anyway, He doesn't want to be put
Yeah,
on.
well,
Yeah.
that's the problem with doing crime out in public. You don't want people to see it. He's
But anyway,
objecting.
so we saw that, and what we also saw were people in camouflage outfits, people with the orange caps, remember?
Yes.
And people with the knapsacks and
Bandanas.
whatever. And today in the news, there's a story that those teams were teams possibly from either, could be the Proud Boys, it could be Antifa, it could be different things. And the narrative, the false narrative that is being spread now, I think, by the media, is that Donald Trump should be held responsible for the murder and for the death, I should say,
Of the cop?
of the cop
And the Air Force lady?
and of any damage that actually may have occurred during that disturbance. I mean, so, all right, if that's the new standard, which I thoroughly reject, that means that when we go back over BLM, you and I were there at Columbus Circle, and that candidate for Congress, the black lady who's either dating or some connection to Hawk Newsom,
Showed up with him, yeah.
showed up with him, and we have her on tape saying, I'm running for Congress, but I'm not running for Congress to remake America, I'm running for Congress to destroy America.
Oh.
Yeah, she's on tape saying that.
But she didn't win, right?
No, she did not come close to winning.
It's funny that more people don't support that platform.
But the people who were, in quotes, virtue signaling about the BLM riots that continue, frankly.
Yes.
People in Congress, in the Senate, running for office at various
CNN.
offices, CNN, the mainstream media, those people are certainly not responsible for the activities of someone who listens to words, processes the words, and elects to make a decision, him or herself, to do something. It is that person's responsibility. Now, Donald Trump at no point said, go to the Capitol and burn it down. Nor did he ever say, go to the Capitol. I don't believe we're going to have to pressure these people to hold them hostage so that they do the right thing. He did not say anything close to that. And as usual, the Jake Tappers, Fake Yapper, Wolf Blitzer, those kind of people in the mainstream cable and network TV talking heads are trying to sell the narrative that Donald Trump himself is responsible for disrespecting the will of the people. Don't look over here at the 1,000 pages of affidavits concerning election fraud. Don't look at the evidence. Just this, we got a narrative and we're selling it and we're spreading it. So going back to the DHS warning, right? I mean, they're gaslighting.
Of course they are.
Right? Absolutely gaslighting.
Maserati, Charles.
I know. You should do a car show, Jason.
I actually did a 3D car show, but then Discovery Channel's 3D thing went out of business. Yeah, I gotta say, Charles, I'm a little bit disappointed in the president's lack of kind of getting in front of this. He's just sort of allowed this false narrative to proliferate for a couple of weeks here without really saying anything. I mean,
right.
What would stop him from creating the Donald Trump whatever webpage, TV channel, and just putting out broadcasts all day? People would watch it.
Trump TV? Are you kidding me?
It just feels like that he could put that together in 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, he doesn't need my advice, but watching how powerful Twitter became, how powerful Google is, how powerful Facebook is, how powerful YouTube is.
Trump book?
I mean,
Trump.
Trumper, not Twitter.
Exactly. Why not?
But I can imagine he's got smart people around him.
I don't know about that. He had a lot of dummies around him.
No,
for
but he
4
does
years.
have some smart people around him, and I imagine that he's on a program to try to think through how to compete, or at least how to defend his interests against the cancel culture. Now, that's another thing we discussed with our friends in Norway. We can bitch and moan about what happened on January 6th. What people should really be concerned about here is that the President of the United States, while president, was fundamentally canceled by social media.
Ridiculous.
Right? And if that can happen to the President of the United States in the country...
It's still open. It says the building is for sale.
If it can happen to Trump in the United States of America while he's still the sitting president, while he's technically still supervising the Justice Department, the IRS, and the SEC, and other regulatory and investigatory and prosecutorial organizations, if he can be canceled as effectively as he has been, and if now we're on, let's cancel all his supporters.
Right.
That should tell you that the real story here is you've been on it before. You don't surrender your constitutional rights when you agree to go on Twitter or Facebook, or at least you shouldn't.
They think you do.
Well, you shouldn't. In this question of one of the few times I might sort of agree with Barack Obama, remember when he said to the private sector, you didn't build that.
Right.
Twitter did not build the United States of America.
Well, not only that, they didn't even build their own thing. I mean, yeah, they built the structure, but all of these things rely on user-generated content.
Right.
So essentially when Facebook says, oh, well, you know, don't worry about it, Jason Goodman. You can put pictures and videos and stories and all kinds of things on here for 12 years while we build up our immense power. But then when we decide...
It's Joe.
Yeah, when we decide we want to kick you off, we can do that without any kind of reason, without any kind of appeal. You can't know who complained about you. Now, what is that? Have they opened a restaurant down in the middle? There's a wood hut there.
I don't know.
I'm kidding. 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 Interesting.
You got that music. You don't want that on there.
No, I don't want that music, but I also don't understand what is causing this sound problem, because every time I think I've got it under control, it crops up again. Give me just 1 second here, Charles.
Sure.
Let's pull it back here again. Check. Okay. So now this does actually give me an okay opportunity to remind everybody that the Jason Goodman channel is now back in action, so people can see us on the big channel. It really does have an impact, Charles, when that channel gets strikes and there's somebody that we know who is aggressively and actively, constantly trying to destroy it. So the best thing for people to do while they can see us on the big channel is to become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. That allows everybody to stay up with the live streams. People can also subscribe to the free backup YouTube channels, Crowdsource the Truth 2 and Crowdsource the Truth 3. And what I'm going to be doing later tonight, Charles, after this show at 5 p.m., this was my trip to the inauguration that you were just talking about a minute ago. I've got the sponsor exclusive, previously available only to sponsors. It's going to be premiering on the Jason Goodman channel, so people who missed that will be able to watch the whole entire director's cut of the inauguration day in Washington, D.C. as a little bit of a celebration of the Jason Goodman YouTube channel coming back into action.
That's good. You're saying that's going to start at 5?
That'll start at 5.
So we've got to be over before then.
Well, yeah, but that allows us plenty of time.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
So what do you think is going to happen now with this impeachment? There's been a lot of back and forth. Rand Paul talking about boycotting it.
I think it kind of reminds me of when I was in high school and the Earth Day and late 60s, early 70s, whenever it was, and the students decided that the radical 12th graders and 11th graders at this snotty private school I went to decided that we're not going to go to class, and if we don't go to class, then the teachers can't teach us. And for a few days, maybe 3 days or so, it was chaos until I think a number of parents, my own included, said, "Get your fucking ass into the classroom." But
Zoom hadn't been invented yet.
Right, and so the Nancy Pelosi running around with this impeachment article for not only is what is alleged in the article that I read not a crime, I mean not a high crime, I don't even think it's a crime to
make a speech,
to exercise your First Amendment right to express your opinion. You've been wronged. You believe you've been wronged on the basis of due inquiry and good evidence.
Right.
And you've let the string run out. The electors did not do their job. The legislatures did not do the job. The governors did not do. They all did not want to look at the hard facts, because the insiders who had the ability to change things are part of a criminal conspiracy in my mind. So I think he was actually restrained.
Hey man, I love your videos.
Hey, thanks very much.
That's funny.
He was restrained, you mean, in his comments?
Yeah, no, in his from the date when he on the evening of the election, when he learned, if I had been President of the United States and I learned that multiple swing states had decided to send vote counters home, I would have right then and there gone on national TV and say, this is bullshit.
Right.
You know, and we are putting you on notice. I would have had a plan beforehand. We are impounding these boxes. You know, I would have had teams ready.
Because all the evidence is gone now. It's never going to get properly resolved.
Right. So I think he's been actually, on balance, rather restrained, especially when we consider, as you go back to the art department's famous poster, just how in hoc the Biden family has been, not simply to China, our dread enemy, not our friendly rival, but our dread enemy, but to other foreign groups and business groups and unions. This is a criminal, this is a political crime family, the Biden family, that has taken the lead, followed the lead of the Clintons. Watch yourself, Jason. Sorry.
That guy got in the middle of my fancy transition.
Right. So, so I think Donald Trump and his people had every right, if not an obligation, to oppose what has actually happened. With regard to this trial, I think the Speaker made a very grave error doing this, because at this stage, in soccer they call this an own, or European football, own goal. They've transmitted the articles claiming that they're valid articles of impeachment. I don't think they are. And then the Senate is now crafting a process where the Chief Justice is arguing that he cannot preside because the Constitution only talks in impeachment about removing a sitting president, but they're going to go ahead with it anyway.
So that would make it unconstitutional.
Right, and they're going to go, and the call so far is to have one of the most biased partisan hacks in the Senate, the longest serving member of the Senate.
Who appears in a photo with Joe Biden
Right.
and William Barr in the 1980s smiling like a dick.
Right, well, he is. This Senator Patrick Leahy is a fundamental, irredeemable dickhead. And he was flat out said, since 2017, early in 17, he said he wanted to see President Trump impeached. How can that guy be the judge in this trial? It's ridiculous. So, but the problem now is, you are innocent in this country, in theory, until proven guilty in a court of law, tried in certain cases by a jury of your peers, right? So what are they going to do here? They're saying, okay, we won't call it a trial. We'll just spread these accusations around the world that he's guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. And rather than get into the evidence, because we know he's going to be acquitted, we'll just argue some procedural thing about whether he got due process or not, and then dismiss the case on a technicality. I mean, this is outrageous behavior. It's like what they did, frankly, of the Russian hoax.
Right.
And on that, I don't know if you had a chance to read that article, maybe not, by John Solomon.
I did not have a chance to read it.
John Solomon is on a tear doing articles based on the declassed information that Trump put forward on the last day of office. It is shameful that, frankly, he allowed the CIA and the FBI and the Department of Justice to sit on this information until the very last minute. Because what's coming out now, you'll recall the whole premise, and this is John's latest piece, came out this morning at 9. The premise of the Mueller investigation is that the president and his team were legally obstructing justice by firing Comey.
Right.
To make sure.
What did he say?
It's a live stream. To make sure that that Comey would not get to the bottom of Trump's alleged ties to Russia. Well, this morning, piece by John Solomon, I think has a mistake in it, a critical mistake.
Oh.
It claims that their meeting notes, I believe of a meeting with McCabe, where McCabe and I think Page and others explained that the decision that Comey was under threat of being fired beginning in January of 2017. In Solomon's piece it says because Sessions and Rosenstein in January 2017 were concerned about Comey and for other reasons wanted to fire him. The problem with that, now it's quite possible that the two of them were talking, but Sessions was only made Attorney General late in January. Remember, they held up the consideration of Trump nominees as long as possible. Rosenstein wasn't even announced that he was Trump's candidate to be Deputy Attorney General until early in February, and he didn't become the Deputy Attorney General until mid-April 2017. So how Rosenstein and Sessions could have been conspiring to get rid of Comey as early as January is a question mark. I think he may have met in February, or he may be talking about a period before when the two were trying to think through what they might do together, but before either of them had been installed formally. So, but nonetheless, if it is the case, which it might be wrong, but if it is the case that Comey was on his way out the door potentially for other reasons, then certainly Trump would have been in his rights to get rid of him based on his performance while working for Trump, forgetting the other stuff. And in no way was Trump obstructing justice by holding Comey to account for his unprofessional, potentially illegal behavior.
Yeah, but in order for firing somebody from the FBI to constitute obstructing justice, the FBI would have to be involved in doling out justice, and they're not.
Yeah. Oh, details, Jason. Details.
Should we go west or east, Charles?
I don't know. We need to be back 45 minutes. I think we should probably
we don't need to be back if we have an hour. And we can stop this even if we're not.
I think we head west. Head west, young man.
Yeah.
But, so that's an interesting piece. Another interesting piece of this puzzle is it talks about Comey was fired early in May. But according to John's reporting, and the notes and the links are in the Just the News stories, you can find this story in Rantingly easily enough, or you can find it at Just the News. According to some of the notes, after Comey had been escorted from the building, Rosenstein wanted to speak to him. And McCabe wanted to speak to, somebody wanted to speak to Comey, and there was a conference involving Rosenstein and McCabe on May 14th, 2017, Sunday, May 14th in the morning. Now, that is just the same time, around the same time that Peter Smith died. Now, I'm not saying that Peter Smith was killed by the FBI. I'm not saying, certainly not saying that McCabe, Rosenstein, Comey, or any of those individuals had anything to do with it. What I will tell you, though, is I am not satisfied, as somebody who did know Peter Smith by phone and through email, I am absolutely unsatisfied, I'm mortified by the explanations that have been put forward to date, and the fact that no one has seen fit to go back over this cold ground to see why would people have wanted to silence Peter Smith? What was he after? Who is this Jonathan Safran guy?
Right.
How did he become inserted into the Peter Smith office? What was the role? How did Matt Tate actually come to know and possibly work for Peter Smith? How were those arrangements concluded? How was Matt Tate paid? Who negotiated all that? Who the hell is this Matt Tate? What's his real background?
Why is he contributing to lawfare along with Shane Harris, and why is Ben Wittes so unwilling to look at evidence that suggests that he's been promoting lies because and that Peter Smith was murdered?
Well, so I think a piece of the story here, it fits with our working theories, is that very large nations like Russia, starting let's say with Russia and up, large advanced economies, the US, China, to a lesser extent India, are forces unto themselves. I mean, they could, if they wanted to just chart a path, each of those 4 countries where they remained relatively isolated from the rest of the world, they could do that, and we could make it
be okay.
Yeah, but if you're England, which has now gone from being a critical part of the EU to being in the throes of now breaking into more pieces, with Scotland going potentially independent, and maybe Northern Ireland either uniting with the Republic, the Southern Republic, or being independent from England. England has been on a decline, some would argue, for 200 plus years. Others would say, since World War II and the Suez Canal. And in the so-called special relationship, the English did pretty well, educating our elites about how to conduct foreign business and foreign policy, having a preferred seat at the table at the Security Council and other international forums, doing business with our great multinationals. So the globalism for the Brits has been great. Being an independent nation where you're kicked out of Europe and on the wrong side of the United States, and potentially also fighting China and Russia, is not a good place to be, is the UK. Similarly, Germany, which has fought 2 wars with us, nonetheless, we have, at the end of each one, said, all right, spot a bother, why don't we rebuild your country again at our expense?
Didn't Merkel step down or something?
Yeah, with the Germans, why don't we go down 6? Why don't we accept the criticism from a country that has, frankly, sparked 2 world wars? Why don't we take lectures from the Germans?
Right. How to do things.
And I say that as somebody whose Ortel ancestor came here from Berlin. So, I just think when you screw up and you start 2 world wars,
as a nation, a little more listening.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing I want to do is have some Klaus Schwab, who I think is from Germany at the World Economic Forum, now tell me that the solution to the path forward is that we all ought to destroy our economies, destroy the energy industry, which is America's leading, one of its largest industries. Why don't we destroy that and stop eating food that we like to eat and change everything? Because some gnome now in Switzerland tells us it's a great idea, so that he can continue minting money off his World Economic Forum operation, which is it's kind of like a turbocharged version of the Clinton Foundation, except it doesn't have an actual former president running it. It has an aspiring global emperor who also likes to wear funny clothes.
Right. I think that meeting just began, didn't it?
Yeah.
The Davos.
Yeah. And in that meeting, there was a videotaped message from the leader Xi, saying that the path forward is shared humanity. In other words, and that China definitely believes that global warming is a gigantic threat and will do its part to continue to pollute the world as much as possible. They do want to pollute the world as much as possible, but they, like everybody else, to stop producing so they can steal more of our industry.
Right, and that's, they hear Paris Climate Accord and the word climate appears in anything, and people who don't know what it's about think it's fantastic, but when you look into it, it's allowing China and India to continue to pollute and gain an economic advantage while the United States goes back to where we were before Trump, paying for everything and being taken advantage of.
And meanwhile, the smartest advisor to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, hears the word Paris Climate Accord, and he's saying, Paris Hilton is into climate?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, what's going on with Hunter Biden? I saw the Mac computer repair guy on Sean Hannity last week, but nothing's going on with that laptop. Christopher Wray, the FBI, nobody's doing anything to Hunter Biden.
Well, I wonder. I wonder if the FBI game, has evolved to be, we want a presidential family
that they can control through blackmail.
Right. And my understanding, I've never been to the White House. I don't want to go to the White House. I also don't want to get run over. But by a guy looking at his
That's probably some groceries. You can't even order groceries for the past several days.
guy looking at his crackberry, with a whole large amount of parcels running you down on the street. Anyway, my understanding is that when you try to go to the White House, they do a security check on you. I mean, you can't have an assassin walk in there, right? So
Well, unless it's a dinner party for Obama and you just walk in.
right. Did you order the special dope, or did you order the cocaine? Actually, on that sidebar note, apparently on Hunter Biden's laptop, he claims either that he and Michelle were smoking dope at Camp David, or it's just. I mean, it just gets worse and worse. But not a joyous day by any stretch of the imagination. The market, I don't know where it ended up today. Perhaps people in the crowd can let us know, because it just closed minutes ago.
Bitcoin was down, I had seen earlier.
Right. But at one point, the Dow Jones was down. The established companies, 30 established companies, were down 400. That was down 400 points or thereabouts, maybe 500. Don't know where it closed, but I think he has the light here.
Norman tells us that Obama was a crackhead. Well, that guy Larry whatever said that he did cocaine with Obama at the National Press Club. He said that.
That's Larry Sinclair.
Sinclair.
He did more than
right.
Cocaine.
That's right.
But now, to be fair, people will say scurrilous things about famous people. We have, for example, in the news, Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, stands accused by an actress, and I'll get to who she is in a second, that he supposedly had a wild, inappropriate sex thing. Yeah, was it not Epstein, but who's the other guy from Hollywood? Weinstein style episode with Mike Lindell, who's a former crackhead and now a devout Catholic, a devout evangelical type, who claims that he's never been to the West Village or to the Hamptons, the two places where she said these things happen.
Oh.
Now, who is this person? It's Jane Krasnowski.
Who is that?
What? People are going to start to wonder whether I'm the one who went to NYU Film School. She's the one on 30 Rock, the actress.
Oh, right, the blonde.
Right.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Yeah, and she's the one who, if you remember, she plays in 30 Rock.
The ditzy.
Well, the fading ingenue who's trying
willing to do sex
anything
stuff
exactly. Right. So, I mean,
look, nothing justifies a sexual assault, but at the same time, women who earn their living on putting forward that image, I think, should recognize that they are contributing to that thought process.
Well, perhaps, but I think, I'd go to a slightly different place and say that a false accusation is arguably as bad as the crime itself.
Absolutely. And why would she make that accusation if it's false?
I mean, think
everybody
of the people.
hates Mike Lindell, who's on the left now.
Mike Lindell, everybody on the left hates him, yeah. But I mean, let's go across the street here while we have a chance. I think the crowd she hangs out with, I mean, she's starring with Alec Baldwin and people like that.
Oh, good point.
I
forgot about that.
Are not exactly Trump lovers. So we're heading to, it used to be that there was a relationship between Crowdsource the Truth and Fox. Fox had a multi-billion-dollar market value, and Crowdsource the Truth was a startup.
And they were trying to do things to screw me up, like putting stories about the statue of Alice in Wonderland getting blown up.
But what I'm saying is that in the fullness of time now, I guess this is we're in the fourth year of doing this together?
Yeah.
I think the notional value, because you're a private company and you're not publicly traded like Fox, has, I would argue, increased. And Fox's value has certainly plummeted, most especially since the absurd election coverage. I mean, honestly, I wanted to take a brick and throw it through my TV. As I was
No bricks, unfortunately.
There are tons of bricks. I could have got one from a BLM rally.
I was going to say, you could have gotten it out on 8th Avenue. They had them available at that construction
Pre-positioned.
site. Yeah. So here we are back at Fox. And I always like to look at Radio City for people who enjoy traveling around New York. It's very quiet today, I have to say, Charles. And once again, it seems like it will snow, but the polar vortex has been way oversold.
Yeah.
I haven't even really noticed. I mean, did it happen?
When someone says polar vortex, I remember January of 1981, specifically either 2nd or 3rd of January 1981. It was so cold. I was living on 77th between Central Park West and Columbus, and I had to walk over to Central Park West to go down the subway. And my particular subway was 2 floors down. I was wearing an overcoat and well dressed and stuff for cold. But I got down there and there were no trains. And I was down there for like 20 minutes, and I thought to myself, I better get the fuck home. Otherwise I'm going to die.
Was it absolute zero?
It was minus 20.
Measured in Kelvin or something?
No, it was minus 20 Fahrenheit.
Minus 20?
Yeah, that's really cold.
That is.
We haven't come close to that.
No.
It was minus 20 but sunny. So when you get out at first, your body is warm and your body's temperature is dropping, but at least you have the warmth of your body to help you out. And if you don't get into inside quickly, you can have a very serious problem.
So when is it that the trial would happen? If it's
beginning February 8th, I think, the week of February 8th, or either on the 8th or the 9th. And the first question is it going to be a trial? I mean, you shouldn't be able to accuse somebody of something and then have, as they have now done for, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, have newspaper stories and pundits talk about how outrageous it is what Donald Trump did, and as if it's proven, and then have law firms say they won't work with him, and publishers say they won't publish his books, and employers say that they don't want anybody to employ people who are Trump supporters or Trump administration officials. That's not the way. These are not our values, as Barack Obama once said many, many times. Now, this used to be. What did this used to be? Outdoor seating?
Oh, I don't know. It's very similar to the space where that Mars restaurant is, but that's not this. The thing that caught my attention that I've never really looked at before is that map of the world down there.
Yeah, it's a globe, I guess, either a flattened globe.
Yeah, one of them appears to be kind of looking up from the bottom, and the other is looking down from the top. And then this thing, I think, means something that I don't quite understand.
And if I were a stickler, which I might be, and I saw a sign like that, smoking not permitted in this area, I'd just stand
over there.
one in the narrow block there. That's where it's not permitted.
Well.
So yeah, this is, again, it's 37 degrees, 414 on a work day in January. And there's nobody here. Typically in front of Fox, there's always a police car.
Well, and also 4:15 is the time that certain people who arrive at their offices early, these streets should be being flooded right now by a sea of people rushing to the subway, to the bus station, to car parking garages.
And one of the shows that I used to do a lot was in the 4 to 5 o'clock hour. And so I remember...
look, a plan for NYC restaurants by the end of the week.
Bankruptcy.
Yeah, the plan is they're all gone. I heard that either Cuomo or de Blasio is saying it's now time to open restaurants.
Well, but at the same time, Ron Klain, the chief of staff for President Biden, is saying that schools have not done enough to invest in protecting the teachers and the administrators, so schools are not ready to open. And the unions are saying, well, we really don't think it should be open until everybody's vaccinated, which means 2022. And
Well, the point that you're bringing up, Charles, is actually very relevant because later tonight, after our show and after the replay on the Jason Goodman channel of the Inauguration Day show, at 8:15, I'm going to be joined by Michael Caine, who's with the Teachers Union, who has some new information and new developments about the lawsuits that they have. But you're absolutely right. The union has some sneaky ideas about what they want to do to the teachers.
so how does Michael Caine manage a movie career and also
Different
a
guy.
different guy? Oh.
But, I mean, this is what they're doing. They're, closing down all the small businesses, controlling the schools. I mean, these are choke points, right? They're
Right.
controlling everybody's lives.
Well, that's what this is all about. This is not about, in my view, this is not a health emergency alone. There may be some health issues. This is a change global behavior emergency.
Correct.
Donald Trump had been successfully nourishing the idea that we don't need in 2021 or 2020, we don't need a nanny state and a nanny regional state and a nanny global government when we have these magnificent tools when used properly that give individuals and families and communities the ability to do things together at low cost with good information that you just couldn't do 10 years ago, 20 years ago, etc. The need for the nanny state is just not there. And really, what we should fear now is,
world.
well, what I called, we were in the conversation with the Norwegian fellows, I think the biggest threat we face now are digital slave traders. The people who are trying to lock us into digital hell, lock us into these. We're reliant on Google for email or whatever we use for email. Right. We're reliant on Facebook, YouTube, etc. And we build up a living and a fair amount of value and then find out, holy smokes,
You're out.
You're out, or do what we say, or you're out. And also, we're giving, in an age where we should be ever more private. In fact, what's happening is our whole lives are becoming ever more under the thrall of a limited set of credit suppliers, utility suppliers, government agencies, cronies, and criminals. That doesn't seem to be a good state of affairs to me.
No, not at all. Now, I've noticed that a lot of the New York City taxis have become Toyota RAV4s.
I did not notice that, but yeah, you're right.
Well, the only reason I noticed it is because that is one of the primary competitors to this car that I've just got. And they used to be the taxis in New York City, Ford Escape Hybrids. That was the first thing that made me say, I bet you that must be a reliable car if they're using them for taxis.
Well, and on a related point, what I see is a lot of empty taxis.
Correct. All the lights are on. At 4:15, that's crazy. That would never be seen. So, these rumors of New York coming back to life and stuff, that's not true. And restaurants continue to fail. Small businesses continue to fail. These stupid statements that, now is the time to open everything back up. The will and financial wherewithal of many small business owners have been totally broken. So it's not going to be able to come back right now.
Gift giving ceremony underway in Capitol. What is this all about?
I don't know.
They're giving bribes to one another? This was a while ago, though. 139.
The very first second gentleman.
Oh, come on.
Because he's there on the right. Kamala's.
Yeah.
Looks like the picture's frozen.
Yeah. Just like the president.
Right. Makes him seem more animated to show a still image of him. People can imagine that he's not a complete moron.
Well, on that subject as well, the war room pandemic, which had some trouble yesterday with, as I think a lot of folks did with the internet in the 10 to 12 o'clock time frame. They had the stenographer, person who traveled with Biden from 2011 to 2015 or thereabouts, and has written a book called The Unauthorized Biden Biography.
It's called Come On, Man.
Listen, Fat.
Listen, Fat.
He was asked by Bannon.
Written by Corn Pop.
Bannon called it Cool Pop.
Oh.
He got it slightly worse. That's what happens to we older people. We didn't really we don't keep track. At least I don't keep track too much of rap personalities. But anyway, Bannon asked this fellow if Biden's mental capacities were 100% in 2011, what do you think they are now in 2021? And Bannon said, do you think it's 10% lower? Is it 15? Is it 20, 25? And the guy said 50.
50% lower.
Lower. I think that's a generous mark. I think it's more like 80.
Yeah. I mean, and that's no joke. It's a insidious and precipitous kind of decline once that starts.
Right, and it was evident in the campaign.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in the non-campaign.
Yeah.
And we see, I mean, you could say what you want about Trump, and maybe the White House...
sharp.
Well, maybe the White House was in chaos when he was president, because that's the way he does like to manage, and I know other people do like, other big billionaire types like that.
Running around.
Well, yeah, you're the big dog, and you want all the different people with competing ideas to really go to the mat with one another and fight hard for their ideas, and at the end of the day, you swoop in and you take the best bit of each person's idea and you say it's your idea.
Right.
Which is the way some bad managers do it. The way good managers do it is they go through that fight and then they get people to understand that the team put together this crazy quilt of good ideas. But anyway, that's a stressful process for somebody who has had a lifetime of management experience. Biden has had a lifetime of stealing experience.
Yeah, sitting around working till 3.
And having his son concoct these crooked deals to pay off himself and his family. It is alleged in the Hunter Biden laptop. So, and in great reporting by Peter Schweitzer and others on the Bidens going way back. So,
and Bob Alinsky.
And Bob Alinsky, exactly. So, we don't have at present in the White House, either in Biden or in Kamala Harris, people who have management experience. You could say that, okay, Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California when she, in quotes, missed the epic Clinton Foundation frauds that I personally warned her office about.
Huh.
You know,
what did they say when you warned them?
Never mind. You know,
they just didn't pay attention at all. Huh?
No, there's some technical letters back and forth, but we'll look at this. But you know, never mind.
We're too busy bailing out rioters.
Exactly.
To deal with your actual evidence of crime.
Right, and getting invited to the next Harvey Weinstein. Oh, is that your glove?
No, but somebody else has the same problem I do.
So we can stop it at Whole Foods if you'd like to.
No, thanks. Actually, this one they've just reopened. For a long time, the sign said that it was closed, and that they were just using it for deliveries of stuff.
Why don't we go over to 7th Avenue?
Sure.
Because I think, remember, you get hit around 36th Street. Maybe if we go down to 37th?
Yeah,
7th.
sure. Well, and actually, you know, we're also, right now, because of some of the complexities of having the Jason Goodman channel, Crowdsource the Truth 2, and Crowdsource the Truth 3, if there is a disruption in the broadcast, it presents a little bit of a complication. So people who've been watching for a while, Charles, know that anytime the broadcast gets disrupted, I produce a director's cut that goes out on Patreon and Subscribestar that people can watch. And we can see into Whole Foods here, which is normally super crowded, and you can see that there's nobody in there.
Yeah. There's also nothing in there that I'd want to buy. Let's just wait a second here.
There's food there.
This guy's talking on the phone. What is Ollie? Woman's multivitamin. See, this guy's talking in a loud voice on this. Oh, we can cross this way maybe.
Sure. Charles, a lot of people think we're crazy for living in New York with all this noise.
Oh, come on. It's a wonderful city.
It was.
It's the rotten apple. Now, one thing that I think is also happening, though, you're seeing, I don't know how good I feel about this.
I don't think we can cross there.
I think let's go down watching the... Thank you. Thanks.
Wow, that's actually a mistake for that guy to do, though.
What?
Yeah, it's just, people try to do that to be nice, but when you stop the flow of traffic just keep going and let the pedestrians figure it out. That's more likely to create an accident. We could do a whole instructional video on what not to do when you're in New York.
That's right. Yeah, navigating New York.
Do not defecate in the train station.
You do that in the park. Oh boy.
Do not stand at the bottom of the escalator and just stand there. What the hell is the matter with you?
That's right. Yeah, that is one of the most annoying things about Google Maps. That people, they'll be walking down on their Crackberry, and of course they're going to stand exactly in the worst place to stand at the intersection and look down at the Crackberry and speak in Azerbaijani or whatever the languages they're using while they block traffic.
This place, Utoya, is actually a very good Japanese restaurant, very authentic, but I didn't know they had one right here, and I can't imagine that it's open.
Doesn't look terribly open.
Oh, it says, "Dear our valued customers, temporarily closed."
But there, I saw action in there.
It's very authentic, including the proper grammar.
So here we are at the, I guess this is Broadway.
Maybe we should just take a quick look and see.
Well, let's just go that way to 7th.
Yeah, to 8th Ave, because 7th Ave usually kills it also. Well, we're pretty close, and we've been by there so many times, the New York Times and everything. Game Lives online. I thought it was going to say Game Lives Matter and be some kind of ad for GameStop. Charles, it's really empty today.
Let's go this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy's not looking.
So when the DHS said that there's going to be, that's interesting, undercover cops stopping somebody, that doesn't usually happen.
A Verizon van.
I know, there's so many of them. So when the DHS says that there's a general terror warning,
and particularly targeting domestic elements that are, quote, spreading false narratives. I mean that's an outrageous pronouncement.
Right. But this is what George's brother has been trying to inject into, federal court documents, and he's been writing letters to Letitia James. He's obviously doing that with the hope that, someone will believe him and come and do something to me. I think I might have mentioned to you, Brandon Straka has been arrested by the FBI.
Under this program, I think.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you think about it for a second, Fauci, for his entire career, has been spreading false narratives, and it's enriched him.
Arrest him.
Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton have been spreading manifestly false narratives that we have documented with now 300 videos in total, and more work than that out in the public domain. We have documented the false narrative that has made the Clinton family mega millionaires.
Plus, they've actually done terrorism. Bill Clinton has ordered bombings and killings of tens of thousands of people.
Or how about pardoning the lady, Susan, whatever her name is, who's big Act Blue?
Goldberg, Rosenberg, what was her name?
I don't remember. I'll let you say stuff like that. Rosenberg.
Susan Rosenberg.
Rosenberg, yeah. You don't want to go down 7th, or?
No, this is fine. 7th is fine. I think when we get to the train station, though, it might ding it.
All right. Well, we can go if you want. Well, doesn't it ding it on 8th as well?
It's dinging it all over the place, Charles.
Ding a ding.
We're just doing what we can. What did that guy say?
Jason.
Did he?
I think so.
See, I sometimes get nervous because I don't hear what people say, and it's tough to know if it's someone trying to make a complimentary, kind statement or try to kill me.
Yeah.
That's a very empty-looking window for a place like this.
I think it's a very not work much in business anymore.
Yeah.
So
well, Charles, this Sunday we will have our last in-person Sunday with Charles for a little while.
That's right.
I'm going to begin my road trip and start the whole Ghost Town USA series, where I'll be kind of checking out a variety of different cities around the country, many of which I've never been to before, just to sort of evaluate the status and see how they're holding up to this basically utter collapse of the entire place.
Right. Brought to us by megalomaniacal governors and certain interests, anti-national interests, globalists, who are trying to bring this country to its knees and are succeeding.
They're succeeding. I've always been sort of amazed that place right there, Midtown Comics, can be as huge as it is. I mean, I guess selling comics is a good business. But that's been there for a long, long time, and it's a huge space.
Yeah, I've never been there. It says amazing since 1997. There's another one on 45th, is it? And 45th between Lex and 3rd? The what?
A comic store?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, when I was a kid and interested in comics, I would go to the Forbidden Planet, but I have been in that one, but never.
Where's Hidden Planet?
Forbidden Planet, we've walked by it. It's on Broadway, like right near Grace Church.
Oh, that place, right, okay. Yeah.
The Terminator standing in the window.
Yeah. Again, now we're getting closer to 5 o'clock. People generally are, if they commute, they're either headed to Penn Station, which is south of us, or Grand Central Station, Port Authority, which is north of us. And at this time,
the streets should be flooded.
Yeah, not with rats, not with people selling fake Gucci bags, not with garbage, but with actual workers.
Yes.
And here we have 2 security guards in front of a Pret a Manger sandwich shop. There must just be snacking there, I would guess. It can't be guarding the precious baguettes.
There's nothing in there to
Their sandwiches
steal.
are pretty good, but they're overpriced.
Well, I mean, that's like a kind of a place that you would go to for lunch when you're working in one of these buildings.
Right.
And again, a place like that would normally be jammed. You know,
Yeah.
people buying loads of sandwiches or getting something to have a salad on the train home and
Right.
do whatever.
But I think I started to go down the tangent of saying I'm seeing reporting that we don't have, when somebody buys something and they get it home and they regret what they did, that's called buyer's remorse. We don't have in the case of Biden buyer's remorse. I think what we have,
remorse.
no, we have stealer's remorse.
Right.
We stole the election for this guy. Are we fucking kidding ourselves? I mean,
Well, what's happening wasn't there a Texas federal judge who stopped them from closing down some pipeline or something?
no, I didn't watch this guy. He's going to ask you for money here. Let's go this side. Yeah,
This guy had a
just want to make sure.
interesting gate
All right, and here's more security guards.
and another Pfizer ad.
You want to change
Breakthroughs that change patient lives.
right.
This guy's guarding an out-of-business place.
the money changer. Now you're saying that 7th Avenue is a problem?
Yeah.
You want to go down to 8th here?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll walk around the problem.
Maybe. Let's hope. And
So
we get-
Biden's just, willy-nilly closing down pipelines, closing down energy, anything that has to do with earning money, close it down.
And take, for example, New Mexico, a state that does had a robust energy business already, and it's a more Democrat than Republican state these days. Already, the folks in New Mexico are saying, what the hell are you doing? Stopping new leases on federal land, maybe stopping energy production on federal land. That's going to decimate New Mexico and certain other states. Didn't you have leadership of an Indian, Native American group where is dramatically hurt by this abrupt decision on the Keystone Pipeline?
Right.
Again, we don't have, or at least I thought we didn't have in this country, a country where you take the dumbest people in the planet and you make them in charge of deciding which investments should go forward, which capital projects should go forward, and which shouldn't.
Well, it's not just the dumbest people, it's the dumbest,
And most corrupt.
least experienced,
Most
least
arrogant and
moral.
most corrupt.
Right.
And so,
It's a very select group.
that's right. Idiots are us. But it's really to see, and also somebody has put together footage of Biden saying when Trump signed like 3 or 4 executive orders in his first several days, Biden chose that moment to say, around that moment to say, only dictators rule by executive order.
And now he's done 33.
Right, so
than
far.
Anybody,
Far more than
more
anybody.
than anybody before him.
And there's footage, I don't know if it's doctored or not, maybe people can figure that out, but there's footage that shows him sort of, as usual, with a glazed look on his face, saying, I don't even know what's in this.
Right.
And behind him you hear Kamala saying, sign it anyway. And that's just one of the things I drilled into people coming up the ranks at the various firms where I was at.
Check. Okay.
So you never, I started to say, I drilled into the younger people I work with when I was training them that you never sign a legal document or a letter without having read it very carefully, ideally reading it for sense forward, but then reading it backwards. For typos, so that you look at each word. Well, my training, one of the first jobs I had was as a proofreader when I was 18. And your mind plays tricks on you when you're reading for sense.
You anticipate.
Right, and you skip over something that is obviously wrong. You want to get one of them?
Well, what do you think of that, Charles?
I think it's absurd. It's a dirt bike.
Yeah.
You shouldn't ride it. Let's just wait a second. You shouldn't ride that kind of tire on asphalt. But
It smells very...
Go
fried
curry.
in there.
I'll have to come back here. Never. But...
So definitely never sign the thing.
Yeah, so if you're going to start trying to rule by executive order, you should have a view as to which executive order you want to use first and why, and you shouldn't set the example that you're the President of the United States and you're just going to start signing things without reading them.
Right. It doesn't really say I'm in control.
I'm really careful. Trust me.
Right. It's just reckless, idiotic, random signing. It also seems like, I feel like maybe this is me, but it seems like under Barack Obama we got a lot more into these executive orders which seem really king-like, and then now we've got, Cuomo with the executive orders. I feel like there was a time when we didn't hear so much about executive orders.
Well, yeah, the challenge, of course, with executive orders is what can be done by an executive order can be undone by an executive order. So that's the good news.
So it's just like dueling executive orders
Right.
every time.
But we should have, let's just let these people go because
They're really talkative.
they have one sound volume.
So it's the dueling executive orders.
Right. And what they really need to put together here is some legislation. And again, we don't know where the market closed today, but if the first several weeks here are any guide, first week I should say, Biden's been president for 1 week.
I know, it's a disaster.
If this week is any guide, I think we should assume that conditions for people who want to invest capital inside this country are going to get worse and worse, that income tax rates are going to go up a lot, and businesses in these chaotic times are going to be laying off people, which is going to exacerbate the downward spiral in high-cost cities like New York.
What do you think about a pub being closed at quitting time on a workday?
I think that's closed with finality.
Right. It doesn't bode well for businesses snapping back. People like to finish work, have a couple of cocktails.
Yeah, I never understood the idea of having a drink at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but
Well, when a lot of people do.
Well, I think sadly a lot of people in this area came to the bars at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right. They moved
Which-
in there. That place was also a restaurant. I mean, that had an after work kind of thing going on with like lots of TVs and sports games and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, every store is just basically empty.
And of product.
Right.
There's nothing on the shelves.
So I mean, you know, how long can you continue? I mean, they say, oh, and now we're going to open. But I thought they were all just telling us how much worse coronavirus is. What happened suddenly that made them able to open? I thought they don't have enough vaccines.
Well, I think it's Fauci's view now that you should wear 2 masks, and next week it'll be 4 masks, then it'll be 8 masks, and it'll be 16 masks.
That's so stupid. You know, when I am forced to wear the mask, which is now even in my own apartment building in the hallways or wherever under threat of whatever, I know it's not working because when I exhale, I see the steam going up my glasses. So there's obviously air spewing out all over the place. What is that stopping exactly?
What are these guys on the right doing?
Yeah.
Does not look good.
No. But I mean, certainly anybody who is concerned about whatever might fly into their face as they're walking around should wear a helmet or a face covering or whatever.
Yeah.
But now even just the coronation of President Dumb Joe, it's got all the mask-loving people emboldened where now they think it's the law that you have to wear a mask. No law has been passed in New York saying that,
Yeah.
but a lot of people think it has.
Well, a lot of people don't think is the problem. So there we're coming up on that McDonald's, remember last time we were down here? The people standing in front of it, blocking the pavement. I don't see as many people tonight.
Well, they crushed the whole building over there. We're right now passing by the former worldwide headquarters of
Right here?
21st Century 3D, yeah.
Wow.
There's Pierre, the doorman, still the same doorman. Hey, Pierre.
Do they still have the statue of you in
No,
there?
there's no statue of me there.
And is this where you got your wigs?
This was a regular drugstore most of the time when we had our office there. It became the wig store.
So these wigs are named. I'll take a H.H. Chloris.
And then you can get also a matching mask with the wig.
That's good. Yeah.
But yeah, that McDonald's was famous for having loads of rats, and also there's a methadone clinic right down here. So
I see.
There was no shortage of
Stories.
troubled people hanging around going to McDonald's.
Uh-huh. And I think back in the day, a long time ago, this hotel, the New Yorker, was a reasonably famous hotel. And I'm talking about in the 1930s or
Tesla
40s.
died in there.
Really?
Yeah, Nikola Tesla.
The company
lived out-
or?
Well, no, Nikola. I think they even have a sign on the side of the building. Let's look. Nikola Tesla lived there, and then.
Come die in our hotel, just
Die
like
there.
Nicholas Tesla.
Well, this one says no smoking, but people can look it up. Nikola Tesla somehow lived in this hotel.
Yeah. But
Oh, wait a
seriously,
minute. And then this is now a steakhouse, I guess.
a former steakhouse.
Yeah, this TikTok diner here. Oh, is this out? The sign is gone.
Looks like it's out.
I don't know. We got all the booze over there, but this TikTok diner became the CNN diner when they had the. Remember they had some kind of primary here
Huh. I don't.
a couple of years ago.
And to our left is Madison Square Garden, which has not really been getting much action.
Right. It seems to be lit differently than normal right now.
And there's the NAMC Theater.
I just don't understand, Charles, how they're able to maintain all this real estate totally idle, doing absolutely nothing. This guy's intent on running some people over.
Moron.
Oh yeah, so there was a big dust-up last
Kerfuffle?
night at the 71st kerfuffle over there at the 71st precinct, where basically a riotous mob was demanding that the police be held responsible. Not like there was some specific officer in there. You might recall in the summertime, I went over to the 3rd precinct to ask why in the world they were keeping Fernando Garcia employed. These guys just wanted cops to be held accountable in general
Right.
for police brutality and started a whole fight. Now, here's a question I have for you, Charles, because we spoke about Attorney General Letitia James and how she should be investigating the Clinton Foundation and
The Obama Foundation.
the Obama
Bush
Foundation, and having the NYPD bring charges against people who actually make false statements with the intent of harming people. But instead, she's suing the NYPD for what she alleges is a violent response to violent rioters who are trying to destroy the city and terrorize normal people. And it's my opinion that incites violence because
Right.
it emboldens people to go beat up the cops and say, we want you to be held accountable.
I know.
So maybe she's a terrorist inciting violence.
I don't know. I can't fathom the program that suggests that you should destroy industry in the city while raising taxes. Cuomo and de Blasio together at top levels, I think the rate is 15+% on taxable income. That's for high income people. And because of the Trump tax reform, you can only deduct, I think it's $10,000 in state and local income taxes. So at 1.6 million, where you're paying the 15%, that's a lot more than $10,000 of taxes. The postal police.
Defund the postal police, Charles?
Get right on it. Get right on it. But you can soothe yourself, Jason, by going to the Big Tree Massage and Sauna. See that up there? On the left?
Yeah. It seems like an odd place to put that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's a 3-axis gimbal fan.
Okay. If you say so.
Well, didn't he say that thing is sick?
He did.
Yeah, he's complimenting the stick. That's
Doesn't
holding
look sick to me.
Yeah, it's slang, you know. So here's this new Moynihan train hall that Cuomo was over here lauding.
The Excelsior e Pluribus Unum Pennsylvania Station. I haven't been in there yet. You can't go in without a mask. But.
Correct.
And that's how you get to Amtrak, Joe's trains.
They moved the Amtrak over here now. Just
And-
a few, across the street, basically.
Well, we'll have to go in there eventually. Did you know that Hunter Biden was on the board of Amtrak?
I did know that,
And did you know that he was on the board of the World Food Program, I think? Well, which is one of the most...
World Crack Program?
One of the many corrupt UN globalist programs. That ranks pretty high up there. The only one that's worse, I think, than the World Food Program is the World Health Organization.
Isn't the World Food Program the thing that Saddam Hussein was selling oil
Oil
for euros?
for food, yeah.
And that got him basically killed. That guy just put on the sirens right now.
What?
The police car. And then now he's speeding up there.
Yeah.
Well, nothing really too crazy going on out here today, Charles. It's a little bit of a slowdown.
You had to say that we're not safely home yet, Jason.
True, but it's a bit of a slowdown in the rapid deterioration. It's feeling kind of cold. I'm not kidding when I say I think the cold curtails.
It's a slowdown and the
See,
meltdown.
that guy's got something to say. The camera in his face. The camera's not even looking at that guy.
Yeah. It's a slowdown and the meltdown, Jason.
It's a slowdown on the meltdown, but it's because generally criminals don't like the cold.
Yeah.
Throwing more stuff out of
Speaking of-
business across the street there.
Speaking of which, be on the lookout here to your left.
Okay, I'm going over there.
This is a real hard-hit block.
Yeah, this is a real hard-hit area. I mean, this is, I think, from here down is pretty rundown, frankly, on 8th Avenue.
Yeah, it was to begin with, and
Yeah.
it wasn't helped by any of this.
The Molly Wee Pub has its lights on, but it doesn't appear to be.
Diauto totally gone.
But why would you turn lights on in a building that no one's using?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes the owners are in there, I guess, getting stuff straightened out, or
Paying
knows?
off the politicians?
yeah, I don't know. Whoa! Look at that. Coded in Chinese.
What?
That ad was written in Chinese.
Get used to it, Jason.
Well, I'm leaving, Charles. Other people can get used to it. That's part of the reason why I'm out.
Well, the point here is that it's not just New York that the Chinese
know.
are going for.
I know. Yeah, I mean, this is really... Look, I hate to be negative and alarmist, but you can't be on the burning airplane and say, everything is fine.
That's right.
mean-
I know how to swim. I'll be once
Yeah.
it lands in the water from 38,000 feet. I'll be good.
Remaining calm is always good advice, but people should not kid themselves. Like, I still speak to people who, when I say it's dangerous to be walking around in New York and people harass you all the time. Now, what's that flag right there? Marine
United
Corps
States
flag.
Marine Corps.
Well, I mean, the city is just terribly deteriorated.
Pretty close, I think. Maybe this, I believe, is residential project up here, isn't it?
This thing on the corner?
Well, for the next several blocks.
Oh, yeah,
So
the
maybe,
housing, right.
maybe we should make a
Sure,
left
you go
and-
left.
wait for the light and then.
So we got more restaurants on the street.
Well, we
friend,
could-
friend of mine whose son owns a restaurant in New Jersey was commenting that, you know, they frequently come into the city to sample different restaurants and see what the trends are and everything. And he said they're just not coming back. It's so bad sitting
Why
out in
would
the
you?
cold. Right, why would you?
You know, it's
And he also said that his son's restaurant is one of only 2 in their entire town that's surviving because they had this whole backyard patio area that was designed for outdoor, and
Well-
everybody else is going out of business.
I think it's also, you know, when you tighten your belt and you go from having to go into the city if you live outside the city, or
You
from-
just get out of the trend.
you just change you're collecting less cash perhaps,
Right.
and so you figure out how to tighten your belt, and then when you start realizing, even I, who am not a particularly great cook, enjoy cooking. It's a different thing to do. I can go I buy all the ingredients and it's you okay.
Yeah, the sound went out for a second.
I can prepare a decent meal in 30 minutes and also have the kitchen clean in that same 30 minutes. And
Saving time, saving money.
a lot of money in
Yeah.
particular. Well, let's
Lot of
keep
money.
going down that way actually.
Sure.
I mean, when we have a
It definitely saves a ton of money.
yeah, and if you're drinking, I mean, the alcohol is a lot cheaper, and plus in theory you're safe inside your apartment or home. And so I think you're seeing major changes in the way people live their lives
Yes.
that are not going to go back to the status quo ante should we ever get back to normal.
What is normal now?
Well, I think people are going to travel a lot less. When they
Yeah.
travel, they're going to travel smarter. I think
Oh,
Big-
you mentioned Norway before. Norwegian Airlines announced the other day they're retiring their entire fleet of 787 jets, which we flew on.
and say they're going to take you on what, one of those Viking boats?
Just like way less international flights, and they're dealing with, you know, Scandinavia and Europe.
Right.
And I mean, we're going to be living in a world where you won't have the convenience of being able to fly from New York to wherever we flew to.
Oslo.
Oslo, right.
Yeah,
You just won't be able to do it. You'll have to go to London, and then from London go somewhere. Or,
right. You'll fly from New York to Oslo, which is going to be New York's new name.
There's some other kind of weird sound coming through the sound now. I think we're subject to a lot of weird
We can go.
radio frequencies as we walk around the city, Charles.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll take your word for it. So
Being
I don't
zapped.
think we that you see that bubble
Tennis.
over there with the McDonald's, that tennis place.
Yeah.
When I was playing tennis seriously, I would go there 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and Sunday for 4 hours during the weekend
Wow.
to play with these other kids who were taking tennis seriously. And let me tell you, in the early 70s, being here at 5 o'clock in the morning, well, no, I mean, it's dangerous. This is during the school year,
Right.
in the winter, typically.
Is it ice in there? I've never been in
Not
there.
really.
Why do they need a bubble?
That's just a cheap way, I think, of giving you indoor tennis. And we can go, we want to do one more block, or you want to go make a left here?
I don't mind.
Just to show people stuff they haven't seen before. Maybe one more and then.
Sure.
But I'm a bit of a tennis snob. Some might say I'm a bit of a snob, full stop, but I'm a bit of a tennis snob. And those courts don't have enough room behind the line, which is actually dangerous. So you're standing at the, where you should stand, right near the service line. And if you don't have enough room behind you, that you can actually hit the fence behind you, you can slip. When I was playing there, they were hard true or clay courts, so they're very slippery. So they were a bit dangerous.
That's actually the McDonald's that I went into during college, where they said they're out of hamburgers, and I asked them, "Why are you open?" And there was not that like put the guy on tilt. He had no answer.
I got nothing.
And then offered me a fillet of fish. I was like, I think I'll leave.
I think, yeah. That could be a scene in a sitcom episode, right?
Seinfeld, yeah, definitely.
So,
well, let's see, Bean and Bean. Let's just see how this little outdoor hut is doing.
No, I see. You want to get a hot chocolate?
No, I'm just curious what is happening with these businesses. And I need to constantly reiterate that sitting in a plastic room with your mask off, all these same people who think that's safe and okay are candidates for, making faces or yelling at me for not wearing a mask.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And here, why would you sit here?
Right, I don't know. And here's all the food getting cold.
I'd say actually getting frozen. It's not cold, it's frozen.
Right. You could put hot food there for 3 minutes and it would be cold. Yeah, a minute. Look at all this.
You can expand. Room for expansion, Jason. Didn't this used to be a 7-Eleven here?
Yes, like a week ago, and it didn't have all this graffiti on it.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Pretty bad, Charles.
So, and we're kind of documenting the way Rome fell.
Right.
Modern Rome, that is. That was a good walk, Jason.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if anybody learned too much, but, in about 2 minutes, Charles, the Inauguration Day video will begin.
Why don't you...
Whoops, right here on...
Watch yourself.
On the Jason Goodman channel. So thanks everybody for watching. Please do become sponsors. It really is important. There's a huge effort underway to shut down Crowdsource the Truth, to terminate this channel. There is a big impact when people can't see the videos. I do my best to let everybody know that there are backup channels. Crowdsource the Truth 2 and Crowdsource the Truth 3 are available for free on YouTube for people to subscribe to. And if you want to check out crowdsourcethetruth.com. You can sponsor the Counter Lawfare Fund, which is hugely helpful. People can scroll down past today's video and choose a different level of sponsorship. You're going to get annual subscriptions, gift subscriptions for members of the family or friends. And it's a great way to support Crowdsource the Truth and to help me fight lawfare and social engineering. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see everybody later tonight with Michael Caine from the Teachers Union. We're going to find out about all the screwy business that the union is up to. See everybody later.